Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, Wickers, Wickettes. How we doing today? How we doing? Random leftists, hello, other people of culture. Well, I guess hi to you. This will be totally normal and unhinged call-in chat. Let's hope. Cross our fingers, okay? Cross our fingers. McCall, let's see today. Hi. How you doing? Jess Guzzy, hi Wick. Hi, Jess Guzzy. The Baby Seal Club, hello. Hedonic Samuel says, all right, I joined the Discord. Geez, yeah, if you want to call in, that's kind of what you got to do. It's how we handle call-ins here. Oh, 3 pounds from Dottie Girl. Thank you. Thank you for starting us off with little money. It's really helpful. So, how's everyone doing today? How are we getting on after yesterday's little Did you enjoy the drama slop, I guess? Did you guys have fun? Was it all you ever hoped and dreamed? I hope so. Um, there is so much money to be made in drama, but I don't like it. We got bigger fish to fry, gang. We got bigger fish to fry. But every once in a while, I'll indulge because, I like, it's like, in small doses, it's very interesting, very fun. It's very entertaining. But if it's your whole diet, you're going to get diabetes and you're going to turn into a fat slob with like swollen toes or some shit. I don't know. But yeah. Let's see. Hedonic Samuel says, I missed the last half, unfortunately. Well, we got both of the VODs thanks to my editor who had to pay a little. He had me over a barrel, not going to lie. Okay. So I guess just to start us off while we wait for callers, and gang, this is a call-in show, so please call in so I'm not just ranting at you the whole time. And you can talk to me about really whatever you like. If you have a problem with anything I said, any of my takes, we can get into it, and you're free to call in. But basically, what happened yesterday was I was doing with North, who helped me set it up. And I will get the document out. I just got distracted with having to fix my channel, right? Someone decided to false flag my channel and try to get it taken down by posting doxes in super chats. We removed that, but I had to take the stream down and edit that out totally to prevent them from being able to mass report me. That was their goal, to be clear, to get me to disrupt the stream, to get it taken down, to get me to shut up, to get me to stop talking about this, to get me in trouble for talking about this. And it was a headache, but we got through it. Then we had a little bit of an after show, and J-Stalk called in, and well, apparently here I found a video of his reasoning for why he thinks it was okay to call CPS. Okay. I found a video. I think you guys will enjoy it. Let's see what he says. Okay, this is his reasoning.
The confidence that I have in my taste and my ability to express what I feel.
Pretty much it. That was his argument. He was super confident that he was correct. He admitted he did not see any of the logs. He admitted that there was other interpretations that were possible. He just didn't feel that they were as likely. And again, without any reasonable suspicion, and that key word there is reasonable, I think we can all agree that calling CPS on someone is unhinged, dangerous, and weaponizing the judicial system to win an internet argument, an internet beef. It's crazy. Anyone who's running cover for what Connor did is probably a danger to other people because they are willing to maliciously utilize the federal services in order to target their ideological, drama, political enemies, right? So beware them. Do not turn your back on these fuckers. They will destroy you. Pondering Politics for $10 says, I would like to request you organize a big Trump corruption debate in light of the recent scandals and disclosures. I want to pop popcorn and see MAGA try to defend this shit. I would love Pondering Politics. That's another thing I wanted to talk about before we get to the callers. Next week and the week after, I want to focus mostly on politics. I want to do things about the Trump corruption scandals that have come out, and there's too many to list here. I want to do things on the reflecting pool. I want to talk about the Iran war debacles that are still going on. I want to talk about potential Republican candidates in 2028 and who's best to beat all of those. I want to do some internal critiques, right? I want to talk about the DSA, and I want to talk about Democrats and primaries and things like that. Gang, one of the things that worries me is the odds of us winning the Senate in 2026 have gone down precipitously. And I have certain theories about why, but we can get into it. But yeah, if you have ideas on what you want to talk about, if you have ideas on things that you want to see on the channel, please get in touch with me. And especially if you want to be part of it, we can hopefully set that up. I will say, though, it's hard to get Republicans these days. It's hard to get right-wingers for a variety of reasons, okay? They just, it's difficult to get them in a room that is going to be hostile. So props to the ones who do come through, frankly. Let's bring on some of my guests. Hello, you're live.
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about this media problem that I think. Have you seen the Republican governor, or I'm sorry, the Colorado governor's race, the primary, with this guy
With
named Victor
Hickenlooper
Marks?
and the other one? Or are we
No,
talking
the on the
something else?
Republican side,
On the
the
Republican
governor's.
side, no, I have not.
Yeah, yeah. There's this guy named Victor Marks, okay, and he straight up is talking about how he's killed people, right, and how he's like a Marine veteran,
Oh,
and
killed people like in the military, killed people, or what?
no, like just kill people in like real life, and he lies like a shit ton about the things he's done. Does the whole trans shit that like all your and he wants to like kill Democrats. Like it's straight up insane. Like he did an interview with a big political Denver guy, Kyle Clark, who did the same interviews
Do
with
you have a
Barack
good clip we can watch real quick?
um, you can let me look it up real quick.
No rush on that, right? Like I'm just asking because no, I'm not familiar with this guy, so I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around where we're at here with
Yeah,
this.
there's a clip of him. It's on Next Nine News. You could just type
Just
in
DM it to
Victor
me, and
Marks.
I'll DM it to
Okay.
me, and I'll put it on screen, and we'll watch it.
Let me see. Oh, this might be the full interview.
We ain't gonna watch a 3-hour thing, but if it's like a 2-minute clip or something, we can watch it.
Let me get it. Let me play a clip. Hold on. Small clip.
While we wait, $10 from Mundable. Great content last night, Wick. Shame J-Stalk didn't have the balls to confront Destiny when the opportunity arose. Hopefully soon.
All right, I got a
It's
clip.
gonna be a long time coming. Okay, send me the clip and we'll watch it. Cool?
I want to talk about some of the specific.
Let me bring it up on screen so everyone can see. Ready, Kings?
Yeah.
Of what you will share about your rescues. You said that you've performed more than 130 missions to rescue women and children from terror and abuse. Your organization says that you've saved women and children from 30 nations. 30 nations. That's a lot of countries. Could you list off a bunch of those for me?
Start with the first.
Yes, sir.
What did I say?
You said that this in 2024. You said that you've performed more than 130, quote, missions to rescue women and children from terror and abuse. Is what you said factually true, that you have performed more than 130 missions to rescue women and children from terror
Where
and
do you
abuse?
cite that?
You said that on X on August 12th of 2024.
That's not something I believe I would ever say.
Your full quote was, "I wrote this book, Dangerous Gentleman,
Yes.
after 130 plus missions to rescue women and children from terror and abuse." So that's not true, what you wrote.
I wouldn't, that doesn't sound accurate that I would specify how many missions.
Okay, I'm happy to provide you with a copy afterwards.
Thanks.
Yep. Your organization claims that you've saved women and children in 30 nations, and I was wondering if you could list off a bunch of those countries.
Saved or helped?
Quote, saved women and children in 30 nations. That was from the Protecting Children's Innocence Task Force fact sheet.
Well, I would say check with Buddy. Again, our commander. I don't hold on to stats.
But I mean,
like
you're the CEO of the organization. If you really have saved women and children in 30 nations, you could name off a bunch, right?
I don't. I mean, I don't memorize every place that we've gone.
Okay.
That's why I got a passport.
But the entire
What
interview is
the hell is this?
this is the entire interview, okay?
What the
Like,
hell
it's just
is
him-
this? Oh my
It's
god.
him.
The liberal
bringing up all
media.
his
Look,
lies.
I just want to take a look at the liberal bias in this interviewer confronting him with his own words. How dare he? How dare he? That was, I'm going to be real, that was painful to listen to and sit through. Is this guy
But
like is this guy like a sandbagger? What's going on?
He's literally the Republican nominee for Colorado governor. Okay, like this is what I'm talking about. Okay, why does the point I was gonna bring up throughout the entire thing was why is this guy not painted with all Republicans? You know what I mean? Like Chevalier or whatever the hell her name is. Yeah, she's a Looney Tunes, right? In New York City. But like
Chevalier? Yeah.
yeah, but she gets painted like, oh, we're gonna use her to attack other Democrats. But like you look at this guy, his entire 30-minute interview is just Kyle Clark, the interviewer, just bringing up all his lies throughout, and it's just like I feel like there's this giant asymmetry. Like I don't know why Democrats are not able to utilize guys like this and paint Republicans as Looney Tunes.
We should, because this
Yeah.
is crazy that they would nominate someone like this and expect him
Yeah,
to
and
be a representative of their party. And to be clear, the primary's over, right? They actually did elect him.
yeah,
as
this
the
guy's
primary
nominated. Well,
representative?
he's literally in first place nominated. It's a little bit too close to call, but he's gonna win. He's leading by a
Once
bit.
he
Yeah, but-
wins, yes, absolutely, just hammer the airwaves with clips of this guy being like, "Well, did I actually say that?" Yes, here's your words on Twitter, verbatim. This doesn't sound like something I'd say. Just crazy. What? I don't
Yeah,
know.
but this is my overall point is that I feel like there's all this catastrophizing as well with the DSA when they've only won like 7 seats or whatever the fuck it is. It's like so tiny. Like if you go back to the Tea Party, they won like 60 seats, okay, in the House, right? They won 30 swing seats and then they won 30 red seats, right? So in 2010. So like I feel like this narrative just isn't true. You know what I mean? Like it's only true in like these like super D+20 districts. You know what I mean?
Here's a problem with these things is if you repeat something long enough, right, loud enough times, people begin to kind of just internalize this. And we talked this a little bit about this yesterday with when it came to counterpoints, the snarkers, and all that, right, and how it influences perception. But we can see a one-to-one comparison when it comes to Republicans. For all my life, I hear that Republicans are good at the economy, right? I hear that Republicans are pro-business, that they are the ones that are going to help the economy soar. But every single time they get into power, every single metric we have shows the economy doing worse, and the debt especially doing worse under Republicans than under Democrats. But and this has been my entire life, and I'm 42 fucking years old, right? And so this idea that Republicans are good for the economy, even though there's nothing to back that up, like literally all the stats contradict it, right? Because it's been said enough, loud enough times, repeated over and over and over and over again, people just kind of believe it. And you see this in polling, you see this in who do you trust more to handle the economy, this Republican or this Democrat. You see this constantly. And I think that, yes, we need to start to counter that kind of thing by just putting clips like this, just blasting them full, like on all the airwaves. But the problem is, we are, as Democrats, fighting a two-front war. We can't do that as effectively as we should because we have the left flank, right, telling us constantly that, oh, we're corporatists just like the Republicans. There's literally no difference. And so every time we try to bring these issues of corruption up, it becomes harder for us to kind of get that message out there because we have a bunch of people in our primaries saying the DNC is just as corrupt as the Republicans. And it's first of all, it's just not factually true. And
it's not true.
It just hurts us. It hurts our electoral ability. It hurts our ability in the general elections. It's a pain in the ass. So that's, I think, a real big problem. I don't know how to solve it other than just I guess better media savvy. I don't know. I can't answer the question. So I'm sorry.
I mean, there's people who do appeal to that group and appeal to moderates, who are more media savvy. Like I would say James Tallarico is one of them.
Yeah,
And then I would say
Tallarico's
John
great.
Ossoff.
I like Tallarico.
Yeah, John Ossoff's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's just like the old guard kind of are just like really bad at media. So that's like kind of a problem. Like a big, I think it's probably the biggest issue, actually. It's just like some geriatric going in front of the cameras and,
honestly,
screaming, "We will win" is not. Yeah, it was not exactly like.
One of the things I see because I think we're at a point where normie Democrat candidates realize that they need to get involved in these spaces, but they don't know anything about these spaces. And so they hand it off to their interns who recommend them going on, oh, well, I watch a lot of Hassan and Breaking Points, and that will totally be great for you, right? And so you got these 20-year-old Zoomers trying to advise their 60-year-old candidate on where to go, and they're setting them up to fail and sending them out.
Well, like, you have Alyssa Slotkin on Breaking Points, and I just think that I think she should fight back. Like, she should push back against, like,
she should, but I doubt she expected. I doubt she expected. I think it caught her by surprise, right?
I think you're right, but I also I mean, she's in a tough spot because like there's a ton of Muslim voters in her state. If you don't know, so she stopped taking AIPAC money in 2022, and she won the Rashida Tlaib's district that has the Dearborn and like all the Muslim voters, but Kamala Harris did not, right? Because she actually did outreach to that area, and this is the reason why I think Abdul El-Sayed is leading in the polls. Is I do not think Haley Stevens can win that district. I think she's going to lose that district because she takes too much AIPAC money, and she's obviously super pro-Israeli. So it's just not. That's why I don't think she can. She's the worst candidate. But besides the point, yeah, that's my theory of the case because I just don't think those Muslim voters would vote for Haley Stevens. I highly doubt it.
Unfortunately, I'm not like tuned into the Michigan primary race as much as I could be. I do not like El-Sayed. I do not like him at all. But
I think McMurrow was the best.
He might be the best candidate to win. If he does win, I will vote for him. He hasn't said or done anything that I have found. Like Plattner is different, right?
Plattner is just my god,
is different.
It's a mess.
But when it comes to El-Sayed, I just think he's wrong, which is a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but Paxton is just like god damn. How did they get away with this? This is my point. Like Paxton is just way worse. Actually, this is probably the only reason why Texas is competitive. So maybe they don't get away with it. But yeah, overall, like I think as long as we like just kind of shed the geriatrics, that like
I don't
maybe
think that'll work
this problem.
though, unfortunately, because the problem isn't that we're too old. The problem is that there is a substantive portion of the electorate, the voting electorate, who doesn't like Republicans, but they don't like Democrats or liberals, as they call them, more. And so they make the same calculation that a lot of us make in reverse, where we don't like some of these more left-leaning candidates, but we're going to vote for them because the Republicans are worse. They're doing that in reverse, right? And they're wrong, to be clear. But this, again, goes to repetition. It goes to dominating the airwaves, which they have. And it goes to this constant one-way press. The right wing doesn't have the same problem with having to guard from the right as we do having to guard from the
Oh
left.
no, they do 100%. I 100%. I think this is false. I think this narrative is false. They have to guard from like anti-vax people.
No, they've
They have to
accepted them.
guard.
They just take them in.
No, but they lose primaries like all the time. Like the generic like Cornyn lost his primary in Texas to Paxton, and it's fucking hurting Republicans. And also they because as Democrats are less competitive in red states, Republicans are less competitive in Democratic states as well. Like we forget this, and there's a lot of states that like Georgia that have just genuinely gone more blue because Republicans nominated fucking Looney Tunes like Herschel Walker and all that, all that jazz.
Oh,
You know what I
okay.
mean?
So,
Yeah.
yes, I agree with you that electing their extremists hurts them with moderates. Yes, that's true. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the inter-party conflicts. Like, one of the problems with the Republican Party is there is no Republican Party anymore. It's all MAGA, almost all of it.
No,
And
I disagree. I mean, you have the people in
it's gonna hurt 'em.
the Problem Solvers Caucus, right? You have Brian Fitzpatrick and what's his face, Mike Lawler. I feel like
Ask them who won the 2020 election, and you'll see that they cannot say Biden.
that's true.
They can't. They literally cannot. They cannot do it because they will lose their primary. They will lose their support. They will lose any kind of backing they get from the leadership, right? So, like, we can say all sorts of shit about the DNC, right? And you'll get rewarded for it. But if you, again, it's a simple question that you ask any Republican candidate who won the 2020 election, and they will always weasel word their way out of it. They'll be like, well, Biden was a certified, right?
Yes,
Certified.
they'll do that.
Yeah.
They'll do that. But like, I just like you say that they're all there's no inter-party fighting, but that's just kind of not like just look at Congress right now.
No,
You have Anna Paulina
I
Luna.
didn't say there's no inter-party fighting. I said it's not as effective on the right. It just isn't. Like, they don't have to deal with it the same way that we do. Not right now. 20 years, or not 20, but back during the Tree Party time, you'd be correct, but not now.
They literally ousted their speaker, freaking McCarthy. Like there was a ton of like right wing shows calling him a coward and spineless and all that shit, and he's not conservative enough. He's a rhino. You don't remember that? That was 2023.
I remember.
Yeah.
But it's not to the same degree that we have in the Democratic Party right now. It's not affecting.
No, they're literally fighting each other over the Save America Act right now. If you're in conservative media,
you can point to some infighting that they have, but I'm saying that it's not comparable to the left's infighting right now.
I think that's just because you're in left media. Like you have Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, right? Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, like fighting and doing infighting there, and Megyn Kelly. I'll agree that I think it's worse in the left, but I just don't think it doesn't hurt Republicans. Like I feel like
That's fair. No, that's fair. Like, maybe I am overstating my case. That's probably because, again, one of the things that we got to watch ourselves, and I fall prey to this sometimes, is we think that the conversations that are around us are the only conversations being had. And I am in left-wing spaces almost constantly now because the right wing has kind of fortress walled and fortress arced to a huge degree. And so the only kind of infighting I see is on the left. So you are probably correct that I'm overstating my case. So I guess you
because like just the fact that the Freedom Caucus is literally blocking all legislation in the House over the Save America Act is like I've seen it in conservative circles and in like Fox News about how like they're all rhinos that are passing Trump's agenda. You know, they blocked that Road to Housing Act, right? The Affordable Housing Act.
That's true.
So like I will admit if you bring on a right winger onto your show, they won't talk about legislation. Okay. But like if it's in the like, what's that called? The kind of elite Wall Street Journal type Republican, that gets talked about. I'm just saying.
Yeah. One more thing, because I do have one more. I guess a snarker or something is probably wanting to come in. But
Okay.
one last kind of point on this though is I think that the infighting manifests a little differently on the right than on the left. On the right, they're talking about who's more loyal to Trump, right? And on the left, they're saying things like Kamala Harris is a war criminal, Biden is a rapist, right? They attack our leadership in a way, our presidential candidates in a way that the right just doesn't do to Trump, really.
Yeah, they'll attack the House leadership and the
Mhm.
Senate leadership, but they won't attack
Yeah,
Trump.
it's like
That's true.
they attack them for failing the
Yeah,
Trump and things like that.
yeah, rebelling the leadership. Okay, yeah, you're right on that one. So yeah, I'll let you go to the next one.
Okay, thanks for being here, man. And no, thanks for letting me know about this guy. I'll look more into him because that's a wild clip that you showed me. Okay.
Watch the 30-minute interview. It's funny.
I might. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Oh, I might. Oh no, hold on.
Hello.
Hi, I clicked the wrong button.
Oh, it's okay.
I clicked the wrong button. Now we're
Um,
back, I think. I think we're back. Are we back, gang? Are we back? I'm pretty sure we're back. Okay. What do you got for us, sir?
what you saw is not anyway. I just
It's
have a
hard to
question.
hear you. Your gain is super high.
My gain is super high. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Let me lower it.
It's just I saw the
you-
sneaker thing, and I was like, "Oh, is that a snarker?" That's all. That's the only evidence I have. So
Hey, can you hear me better now?
it's still weird, but let's try. Let's try.
Okay, so I just have a question. So, how much do you think of Democrats' recent success in elections is attributable to just natural turnout advantage of blue voters in like special elections and off-year elections?
Are you talking about Democrats versus Republicans and how we flipped about 30 seats from red to blue?
Yeah.
Or are we
2025 elections, basically, because that's all we have, I guess.
I think that, well, it's not all we have, but I do think that the right now the Democratic base is highly motivated, and we are highly likely to get people out to turn out against Republicans and Republican adjacent candidates. I think that that's the environment that we live in right now. It might change, but as of now, I think we live in a D+8 to D+9 environment.
I mean, I agree, but I feel like when people use the recent election results, they kind of use them to basically talk about this backlash against Trump. And I feel like we might be overestimating that because we're thinking if there's a backlash, then that should be about persuasion, not about turnout to some extent.
Well, these things aren't unrelated. Persuasion affects turnout. When you are not persuaded to go out to the polls, you stay at home. You sit this one out, right? Like that happens a lot. So I don't think they're disconnected. You are correct where we are basing a lot of this off of special election turnout, but that's not all we're basing it off of. We have polling data showing that Trump is losing and underwater when it comes to almost every issue. I think the only one that kind of fluctuates into the positive for him is immigration. And even that's, I think, going down severely. Like, even when you look at like a per issue basis, Democrats tend to outperform Republicans now, or at least Trump, right? Yeah, Trump's, I think, the lowest he's ever been on inflation, the lowest he's ever been on the economy. I think his general approval ratings in like 30% or 32%. It's crazy low. So yeah, that's my evidence there.
Yeah, I think well, I guess it matters for turnout matters more for like midterms and stuff. But if we're talking about the next presidential, I feel like the lesson I took away from 2024 is just that it's all the economy and it's all moderate voters, it's all independents. Don't pay attention to the bases too much. Do you think that's
2028? It's hard to prognosticate towards, right? Like it's hard to predict because it's so far away. Politics has a huge recency bias, right? So if it will depend on how things are doing in the country in the months running up to the election. So right now, in the run up to midterms, things are pretty dire. And people are looking at the Iran war, and people are looking at the humiliation that we're facing on the world stage. They're looking at gas prices, grocery prices. They're looking at affordability in general, and it's just, yeah, they do not want the party that's in power to remain in power, and they're going to vote in large numbers against the Republicans. 2028. I don't know what the world will be like in 2028. So it's much harder to
Okay.
predict.
Do you think that this negative mood will persist well into the next Democratic administration, maybe?
Ooh.
And
That's a good question. That's the risk, right? And that's why I think the risk of like going into populist rhetoric is very high. When your rhetoric is constantly needing for things to be bad for you to win, it's much harder for you to convince the public that when you're in charge that things aren't as dire, right? Because you've been pumping the airways full of the economy sucks, Trump, the leadership sucks, the DNC sucks, they all suck, no party's out to help you, no party will tell you the truth. And when you say that enough, people start to believe you, but it's hard to convince them otherwise, right? Like they get stuck in that. And so when the
you
economy
become the
does start to turn
establishment
around,
that you railed against.
if I may finish, when the economy and stuff does start to turn around, like under Biden, people, it's harder for them to actually believe you, and they've already set the narrative that everything sucks right now, and so that it's like a vibe session, and it's a real phenomenon. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to filibuster.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I just said you fight you rail against the establishment, and then you become the establishment.
Yep,
Almost.
and then the same talking points that you used to get in power are used against you, and becomes a problem. Is there anything else
Right.
you got for us before we move you out?
No, I don't. Love your show. Thanks. Bye. I'm not a snarker, by the way.
I know. I saw the sneaker, and I was like, "Is that a snarker?" I don't know. Anyway,
You're
but we love
paranoid.
you, buddy. Thank
You're
you for calling
paranoid,
in.
Rick.
Talk to you later. Okay, what a nice man. A little hard to hear his phone, though. A little hard to hear his microphone. Not gonna lie. Hello, you're live.
Hello, Vic.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Ethnic Florist. How are you?
Yeah, that's the game I was given. Yes. I'm kidding. Yeah, I just have a simple question. After the episodes that occurred yesterday, is Destiny going to be allowed to get into this community and debate and do other stuff?
Sure. Yeah.
So, is you okay with him doxing JSOC?
No. I said it was naughty. I called it naughty at the time.
Yes.
Edited it out. I edited out all the other doxing that was going around, right? Like, look, I will allow communities that have been doxing me into debate. Like, remember, yesterday I had to take it down, not just because of what Destiny said, but
Of course,
because
yeah,
people
yeah.
were spamming my name in chat. People were trying to get my show taken down in chat, and that wasn't Destiny. That wasn't DGG.
Yes. That's why I would tell you not to connect with those people.
But the problem is, these things need to be discussed, and if I discuss it, and if I'm effective at discussing it, that's what they're gonna do. They're going to try to get me taken down, to get me mass reported, to get me off the air, and that's the tactic that they use, right? When it comes to Destiny specifically, the reason why that I'm allowing him on is he's one of the only people who's actually defending me and attacking the people that are going after me right now. And so he does get a little leeway. He just does.
Sure, but
it would be like I'm at war with Russia and Russia's coming in, and even though America does some fuck shit sometimes, then I'm like, well, I got to disarm America because we can't let them use the same weapons that are being used against me. Again, I don't approve of it. I don't like it. I stop it when it happens in my space and in my channel. But again, saying that I'm supposed to hold myself to a standard or this guest only to the standard, it's just handcuffing myself. It's just silly. Why would I do that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say to just do it for one party. Yeah, I don't think these people are good to connect. But yeah, that's your opinion, and I would respect it. I mean, I would.
I mean, like, you don't have to respect. You can disagree, right? And that's fine, right?
No,
Like,
I could disagree, but respectfully, Wick. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You're okay. You're okay, man. But like, it's one of those things where, ideally, there would be no doxing ever of anyone, ever, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because of the
for that to
situation I'm
happen,
in,
Full save us time
for that
and
to
money
happen,
with
there
Hold on.
needs to be a
Hold on, is that
consequences.
you
I
or me?
think.
It takes only 2 minutes to heat up, no
What is going
preservatives,
on?
and no seed oils.
They actually taste like restaurant quality food. That
What
means I
is
actually
going
look
on?
forward to
Why
every
do I
meal.
I
got-
muted.
These are all natural, preservative-free meals with no artificial additives.
Okay. Sorry.
It's good. It's good.
Okay, we fixed it. There was an ad started playing on an ad started playing on one of my tabs, and it was a cooking channel. I don't know.
That's a sign, Wick.
I don't know that I gotta cook.
Maybe. Yeah, you need to start cooking. I don't know what, but
I
yeah.
don't know either, man. What else you got for me? Any other questions about last night
Just
or
it
in
was
general,
just that
or-
question. I mean, yesterday was an interesting show.
Did you like it?
I mean, yes, I like. I mean, I didn't like what happened. I just look. I want to connect why I wanted to ask this question is because I saw that like I would be okay if Destiny wants to dox whatever he wants to dox in his own streaming site
Yeah,
or
it was like, look,
his channel,
it was
right?
very
But
rude of him to come into my space and do that. That was very rude of him. Yes, I will agree.
right. Okay. That's all I had, brother.
Very rude. Okay, thanks for calling in.
All right.
Thanks for calling in. But this is the thing, like, on Twitter, this has been the messaging, right? This has been the tactic that the snarkers have been using is Destiny docks someone on my stream. Destiny docks someone on my stream. And they only focus on that. And they ignore the people who were false flagging my stream, trying to get it taken down by posting unrelated doxes. People who were posting my docs in the stream, right? To attack me and to get me to shut up and try to get my show shut down, right? So yes, what Destiny did was not okay. But what was being done to me was worse. And I don't know. It's just funny what they focus on and funny what they ignore. Funny what they're not talking about. And you got to remember, right? What people choose to overlook and what people choose to focus on, that's important. That matters. That says something. And again, I don't shy away from this. You want to come to me and you have a problem and you want me to address Destiny dropping a dox on my stream, I'll address it and I'll talk to you and I'll tell you straight. Didn't like it. It was rude. He shouldn't have done it. Had to cut it out. Had to stop it. But I don't know, like, they'll just immediately pivot to what about, right? They will just immediately pivot to what about. It's just a difference of opinion. My listening library, well, YouTube says, I didn't dox you by saying your name, which is, I'm still here? Okay, cool. I swear that Wick would send me into the void. Content, thank you. Appreciate you. Sun Profactor says, I can't see any of the voice chats. Does it mean I'm banned? No, it means you haven't accepted the rules. So if you want to call in, you click the link that I've posted in chat. You click that link. You accept the rules by going to the rules page, finding my face emoji, clicking my face emoji, and then you will see all the channels. You'll see backstage, you'll see the vetting room, all that. Jump backstage, which is at the top of the server, and I will pull you in, and you can say whatever you like, right? And we can have a talk about whatever you like. Sound good? Sound good. But yeah, I liked yesterday's content. I'm frustrated that my stream got interrupted, and it did fuck with the flow a little bit under the counterpoint section. But I am happy overall with how it turned out. I thought it went very well. I thought I got most of the points out that I wanted to effectively. I showed you guys evidence. I showed you guys screenshots. I showed you guys clips. I showed you guys their words, what they said, and compared it to their actions, right? And again, it's just we are fighting an asymmetrical battle where they demand that we have standards while having none, that they demand that we hold ourselves to certain principles that they do not, right? And this is entirely a strategy that they do to exhaust you, right? And to try to paint you out as unprincipled. No, principles require context, and context can change how a principle is applied. I'll give you an example before we bring on the next caller. Murder, or killing, I should say. In most cases, killing someone would be horrible, horrific. You should not do it. But there are certain contexts in which, even if you have a principle against killing, that you would kill. And that would not only be morally neutral, but it would be the right thing to do. Like if I told you a story about how a man came to someone's house and shot another man in the head, right? And or shot him in the gut and then beat him into a bloody pulp or whatever, you'd be like, that's horrific. That's horrible. But then if I added the context, this man was holding this other man's family hostage, right? And about to murder and kill them, then that previous story I just told, the context around it changes how you view the action, right? We understand this in every other circumstances, but beware people who have isolated demands for you to hold to a principle that they don't. I'll give you another example. People who say, I won't be in a community that allows harassment of women. And then they hang out in communities where the lead of the community has, in order for vigilantism, downloaded CSAM of a 12-year-old onto their computer and allowed access to that same 12-year-old to his buddies to help her, quote unquote, right? Whether that story is true or not, we only have the word of the person who is telling it, right? But like this is just a difference in principle here, right? And it's an isolated demand, one they don't hold to themselves. They are unprincipled actors. But let's bring on some of these callers. Hello.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, what you got?
All right. Keep it simple then. Not ramble like I did last time. Do you remember when Doobie, I believe I mentioned this in a comment, I don't know if you saw it, but do you remember when Doobie claimed he, shit, give me 1 second. Get my head straight.
You got to be more, I'm waiting.
Yeah. Sorry, I was on the spot and I lost my train of thought. Basically, do you remember when Doobie kept insisting that he was just joking when he said Zip Zip sexually assaulted Pixie?
I do. I remember that story where he
Yeah,
said that,
yeah.
not that he sexually assaulted Pixie, but that he came
Sorry.
on Pixie's car, which might be a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
different,
Which,
right?
yeah, as I understand, like something Reddit post, so you know, but like, my experience, like somebody made the argument, like technically that would fall under some form of sexual assault statute. I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, it's
But
whatever.
the point
It's
being
still
is,
a gross, horrible sexual thing
yeah.
to
But
make up
I mean, I
about
was
someone.
kind
Yes.
of curious. Now you've like kind of laid out the your little snark tenets of how they operate. Do you view that situation? Do you like view how he talked to Zip Zip there differently? Because you notice how he
Well,
kept like hopping back and forth between when talking to you, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. And literally within the next minute, no, I will not say it's a joke. I'm not saying I'm making a claim, but I will not say it's a joke.
I don't remember that specific exchange, but I will say this: based on what I know has happened to Zip Zip since then, it's interesting how everyone Doobie talks about gets certain things happen to them. It's really
Hey, remember
it might be a
when
coincidence, it could be, but
oh yeah,
it's
remember when the
just
dog just
really
coincidentally
weird
fought the
how
dolphin?
everyone Tolly. I think he talked about Zip Zip and some other people, right? Every single one of them, something happens to them. Something very specific happens to them. And I don't know if it's directly connected, but it's just a weird coincidence. It's odd. It's worth looking into.
Thus,
Yeah.
so this is a bulge at a women's beauty pageant.
I don't know what that means. But
Okay.
what else you got for
So
us, caller? What else?
Okay, well, I kind of wanted to throw out that was a good stream yesterday, but you're right to have your blood boiling because it's kind of it's stressful.
It is. It is what it is. Like
I
I
wanted to throw
understand that
this.
I'm going to be look. I've kind of made my peace with it. That when I talk about this, that this kind of shit's going to happen to me.
Well,
Right?
as a viewer, I just wanted to throw you a softball for the sake of kindness.
Oh, thank
you. I remember you were getting to D&D a while back. I saw on your timeline.
Yeah.
Have you actually got any games together yet?
Look. I haven't played I don't. I'll be real. I don't like online D&D. I don't. Like over like Discord or something, I just can't get into it. I like Dungeons and Dragons in person. And unfortunately, the place I live doesn't have many players. I'm sure I could find some people if I tried hard enough, but it's just not that big of a deal to me. And so I haven't played in a while. I want to get back into it. I think it would be great, but it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all been there. All right, then. I'll let you hang up, then.
Oh, thank you, man. Thanks for calling in, okay?
Peace.
Okay. It's funny, too. Speaking of Doobie, watching him crash out in various discords and things about all this has been quite amusing to me. It's funny, though, he won't come on anymore. I wonder why, right? I wonder why he won't ever confront any of these people anymore. Was he tired of humiliating himself? I'm not sure. But it's crazy how he sends people like Aiden and people and others to kind of get humiliated on his behalf. And but it's very amusing and it's very funny to me and I like it. It's fun. It's like a little bonus, I guess. And I know he'll hear this because he watches, has people watching at least. Well, let's bring on the next caller. Hello, you're live.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, what's up, Wick? Nice to meet you, man.
Well, nice to meet you, I guess. What's up?
What so we can just talk about whatever?
Yeah.
My topic is that I'm a little depressed. I'm a little doomer pilled. I feel like the Democrats just still aren't ready to meet the moment.
What does that? Okay, so what do you mean meet the moment? What does meet the moment mean to you?
This modern media environment, we don't have our tendrils out there like we should. Like I was trying to describe to a friend the other day, like the big liberal content creators, and like literally you, Hutch, and Destiny were the only ones I could think of, which, strong soldiers, but overall,
that is a problem.
when you're talking about overall reach, like reach level of outreach, it's low.
That is no, you are correct to identify a weakness that we have in our messaging system, in our infrastructure, I guess is a good way to put it.
Like one of the things that's been bothering me is like the Iran war talk has died down a lot. And it's like, I almost fear people are just by the midterms, they're just going to forget about it, kind of, no matter what happens, almost. They'll have just moved on and stopped. They'll be tired of hearing about Iran. And like, there's so many easy wins there, I feel like literally coming into the Iran war, it was Iran is a terrorist regime. Now we're negotiating with and giving concessions to said terrorist regime. Why isn't every single Democrat just saying Trump loves terrorism? Like just 24/7.
I think that,
Like,
and I talked with this about the first caller, is one of the problems
yeah,
that we're having as Democrats is we're having to fight a two-front war at the moment. This
I
might
agree. Yeah,
change after the primaries are over. I hope it does. But yes, I think that one of the problems that Democrats have is that they not only have to ward off um, the people from the left that are coming at them, they also have to fight against MAGA. And unfortunately, it makes it hard to dedicate the resources we need to pointing out the batshit insaneness of what Trump has done. Iran is a great example. We lost that war, right? I
yeah.
tried to do a panel on whether or not, like, on that. I looked and I looked and I looked to find people who would say that we won the Iran war. I couldn't find hardly anyone, right? I could not set up that panel. No
Yeah,
right
nobody's
winger.
willing to defend it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they know
But
they'll
they
do
won't.
it. They'll
just
do it on their
ignore
own channels. I want to be clear. They'll do it on their own channels. They'll say they'll cite what they consider to be the good portions of winning the war, or say things like, "Well, the deal isn't signed yet. There's still time to change it." Blah 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 blah. Or yeah, we needed to do it anyway, and the world is safer now because blah 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 blah. But they will never go outside of their echo chambers to confront people who have wildly different opinions of this, because they know that if they face pushback on this, it's
basically
indefensible.
indefensible.
You just can't.
Yeah.
The facts are just not on their side.
Yeah, so they just move on. I feel like the rights, they're better at like just picking, like just pick a couple issues. Transgender, immigration, done. We can make your whole world about those issues on the right. Like,
And
and
they
we
will
have some
do
good
that.
candidates
That
on
will
the
be
left.
a thing they bring up for the rest of your life.
Yeah. But why can't we do that? Is it just that our people are just, we don't have the mind for it? Like we're, you know,
We're a
what
little
is
more
it?
free
Like,
thinking, unfortunately. That's good though.
the
Like, I like that we are like that, but it is
good in concept, but in like in the modern like media environment, it's a detriment.
it hurts
We need to
us
be
in
able to
certain
just
ways. Yes.
mindlessly focus in on like two issues, like Trump, Iran, and corruption.
Yeah.
Just fuck affordability. This thing I hear all these Democrats like, oh, people don't want to hear about that. They care about their price of groceries and affordability. I don't think that's true. Like, you can paint whatever world you want your voters to live in for them. Like, I don't know. It just seems
Yes
like
and no. Yes and no.
we're
Look,
playing with a
I
different
think we
set of
doom too much
tools
a little bit,
than the right.
and I'm guilty of this a little bit too, and I want to kind of push back against it. We are winning. I want to make that clear. What we are doing right now, as imperfect as it is working. We are favorites to win the House, not by just a little either. Unfortunately, we've lost our edge in regaining the Senate. And again, I have theories about that, but for the House specifically, we are favorite to win, and not by a little. What we are doing is actually working, and so we can't doom too much. Just because we don't win every race doesn't mean we aren't winning overall. Does that make sense?
I just don't think we're winning big enough. Like, when you consider, like,
What's
let me
big
pose
enough?
this.
What's big enough to you?
Well, just more winning. I love winning. I'll never get
Sure.
tired of
Look,
it.
ideally we would, but you understand how unrealistic of an ask that is for any party, is to win every single race in every single election. Like, that's just
Of course.
not
Right,
feasible.
but like the big rallying cry for us is we have Trump on the other side, right? Like the worst, most authoritarian, most corrupt president of all time.
Yeah.
The big rallying cry for the right was Obama, the most squeaky clean, like gentlemanly, statesman-like president that the country's ever seen.
But he
So
wore
how
a tan
come
suit,
they
man.
win big off of Obama, and then for us to win big, we have to have someone like Trump on the other side, who's like, I just think that's insane.
Look, I agree. I have I have fears for our future as a country just because of how the voting base is. What motivates the voting base seems to be some of the most sloppiest crap that you've ever seen, and that's going to lead us to very dark places. But we haven't lost yet, and we are currently winning. Let's keep the faith and hope, right? I know hope is something that it's not a plan, but it's necessary. Like without hope, we got nothing. And I think that we do have a plan for the midterms. We are going to win in the midterms. And I'm happy to report that I think that in 2028, we're also going to win the White House. I don't know, but that's my prediction right now. So,
well, that's
Okay.
why I listen to you, because you do give me some modicum of hope.
I hope so. Okay.
in these
I
dark
love you,
times.
buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
I'll let you go.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Hello, you're live. Hello, you're live.
Hello.
Hi, what you got?
Yeah, so just want to make myself clear. I am a DSA member, the most scariest person that you talk about a lot. And yeah, let's talk about what DSA plans is for, when we win the midterms with y'all.
Which chapter? Well, do you feel comfortable saying which chapter of DSA you're from?
No.
Okay, because they're different, right? Like,
we're different in the sense where we engage in different type of stuff. Whether some chapters engage with mutual aid, some chapters engage with electoral stuff, and some chapters only deal with labor stuff.
Okay, can you turn your mic up a little bit? It's harder to hear you. Maybe get closer to it. I'm not sure.
Gotcha. I'm gonna try.
You do have a very DSA sounding mic. I will say that. So.
I'm trying to, because when you added me into the room, it disconnected from my my speaker thing, whatever it's called. So I'm gonna try. If not, then that's honestly on me, and I have no problem with being disconnected until I get it fixed.
It's audible. It's audible. It's just harder to hear, and you're fine. But go on. What is your issue specifically with the things that I've seen?
I don't think there's any issues. I think it's more of a misplaced fear. I think your talking point about how we want to destroy the party is misguided because one, in duopoly, we can't destroy you. Even in a multi-party society, that saying would not be true. Until the party itself decides to destroy itself and merge with something else, that's when we can destroy y'all. So I think that's a misguided narrative, I would say.
Well, let's talk about this first, since you brought it up.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll start with a question. Would you agree with the statement that MAGA destroyed the Republican Party?
No, I don't agree with that. I think it's just what it was going to be eventually.
I don't believe in inevitability. So I disagree there. I think that when I say destroyed, I mean hollowed out and changed into something that is unrecognizable. When I was growing up, well, let me finish real quick. When I was growing up, the Republican Party was respectable in many ways. They were still something I didn't like, and they had their problems. But the Republican Party of Reagan is a remarkably different thing than the Republican Party of Trump. I think that MAGA specifically, and MAGAism, has hollowed out and effectively destroyed the Republican Party. It's turned into something that it's wearing the name, but it is not recognizable. It's like it's killed the Republican Party, it's skinned it, and it's walking around in its skin like a suit. That's my position.
Gotcha. My position would be it's not really destroying it. I think it's a strategy of choosing what different constituency you want involved in your coalition. We can look at Ronald Reagan and how that has lasted years. He drew in three types of constituencies that I think is undeniable. He drew in business class interests. He drew in Christian, Christian types of people. Let's just use Christian as a very, very broad term for the sake of this argument. And let's also drew in the libertarian section of the party. And over the years, you can make the argument that yes, that coalition has been shifted. For example, there is no libertarians anymore in the party. That group of people
There's no neocons either. They're all gone, or at least most of them are.
So I would agree on the hollowing part, but I would just disagree with the destruction part because I think parties are allowed to choose what constituencies they want in their coalition. I think that's allowed. I think that's okay.
It is allowed, but it's not always okay. I wouldn't be okay, for example, with the Democrats saying that we want Hitler in our coalition, right? We would not be okay with that. I would not think that's okay. Even if the Democratic Party was like, this is what we want, I would say that's a bad thing. I think we're just using words differently. So I guess just for the purposes of discussion, if you don't like the word destruction, would you prefer the word morph or change?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of a way to get this across correctly. My issue with DSA is that it wants to fundamentally change the Democratic Party to something that I don't feel I could be a part of anymore.
And I will semi-agree to that. Our objective as an organization is to not use entrism to change a capitalist party to what we want. Our objective is to work with people in the party who can be key allies. I'll use examples both on the national level and on a local level. A national level example would be the Progressive Caucus, people like Greg Kozar, that Texas representative from Austin, Texas. A local example would be DSA people working with Democrat reformers at the Brooklyn Democrat Party in New York. When I mean Democratic reformers, I'm talking about people who are involved in 501, Invincible, and No Kings. Those types of Democrats, as in reformers. So we are not trying to change the party, but we are trying to either alleviate or work with reformers within the party who are reciprocal, as in who listen to our pressure when it comes to certain policy aspects.
Let me ask you this. If DSA is successful in its current goal to build allies, and more DSA members become prominent individuals within the Democratic Party, take Democratic leadership, start to outnumber the other factions in the Democratic Party, and become the decision makers in the Democratic Party, would that not, whether you intend it or not, fundamentally change the Democratic Party and how it operates?
It depends on who has power. I don't believe that we have the capacity to ever overtake the Progressive Caucus or the
Okay, I'm asking in the event that it does.
I don't think that is an event that will happen.
So you don't think I think that a lot of DSA members, maybe not you, but a lot of DSA members would love for that to happen. They will work towards that happening. That is what they would like to see happen. I believe Hassan has stated that that is what he wants. That is one of his goals, right? So it might not be your goal or some other members' goals, but there are enough people that are either in DSA or DSA adjacent that want that to happen that I have a real big concern with working with even the nice ones like you, right?
I think to give you an honest perspective of what the majority opinion is, and I don't really care about Hassan, because he's like you said, he's adjacent. He's not really a member. He's only that kind of person that helps us with streaming viewers and all that stuff, which I will just concede on that. But the majority opinion is really simple. We see ourselves as a tiny faction that is able to put pressure on key players for Democratic demands. I'll give you a real life example of what I mean by this. With the victories that are happening across the country in the congressional races, whether it be Claire Valdez, I can't pronounce her name, the lady from Colorado who won the Colorado seat, and we have another race in Florida named Oliver Larkin, who's running against a corporate Democrat there as well. The most realistic scenario that I can honestly give you, and this might actually play into your fear, which if it does, then I do apologize. But the most realistic, yeah, I know. I'll be honest.
Thank you for your apology. I guess. Like it's cold comfort.
Yeah, but like the most realistic scenario that could happen is, do you remember the Republican drama with Kevin McCartney? That Republican speakership guy.
McCarthy, yeah, I remember the speaker drama. Yes, I do remember that. Mm-hmm.
The most realistic example of us being involved in Democratic Party politics will be stuff like that. Us making it harder for Democrat leadership to elect leadership that we are not that we don't really like. And if we are forced to accept those leaders, like King Jeffries, we will make it harder, and we will demand policy. We will demand some policy from us.
Okay,
so that is like the extent of what we will do.
So I don't. So I'm. Look. I'll say two things. One, I think that if you could, that I think DSA would take over the party. I don't know if they can or not. You might be correct that they are not capable of that and won't be capable of that. But I see the trend line in Democratic parties, in primaries, I should say, that they have more seats than they did before. It's still not a lot, but I worry that that isn't just going to be making it harder to govern when they have positions in the House and maybe even a position in the Senate. But it's going to make it harder to get elected because I think a DSA candidate in a general is weaker than a Democrat candidate in a general election. Does that make sense? That's the first thing. Second thing. Cancer starts very, very small, right? It starts as just a little bit. And if you don't remove it when it's a little bit and you allow it to metastasize and spread throughout your system, it can kill you. It can get to a point where you cannot remove it. I think that the DSA is, you're correct, very small currently. But that's why I need to remove you now from my party. I don't want you in the Democratic Party because I don't agree with your policies. And I think your policies and the stated platforms, at least that I'm reading on the DSA chapter, I think are harmful to the country. And the people that you guys elect, like, let's look at the Colorado lady that won her party. What was her name?
I can't pronounce it. It starts with an M. I'm just.
I forget it off the top of my head, but you know who I'm talking about. She her statements on the Colorado Boulder firebombing of the Jewish individuals who were holding a rally for the hostages, and how that wasn't an instance of anti-Semitism, I feel is uniquely not only disqualifying, but showcases a rising tide of anti-Semitism that is coming from DSA that I find disturbing.
And I would argue that when it comes to us winning in Democrat seats, whether it be in congressional races or us winning on the state level, I'll use the New York example where we won 15 seats. Granted, that 2 of those were congressional races, so it's really like 13 seats that we won in the state assembly. That comes down to you guys having a good narrative against us. That's basically my critique mostly about you, Wick, is yes, you are right to be fearful of us, even though I want a multi-democracy like a lot of DSA members do. I don't think that's destructive. But yeah, it comes down to you guys having a better narrative. And we're living in a time where our candidates are able to deflect that talking point about us being anti-Semitic. I don't believe in it. I think we're just anti-Zionists. But it's up to you guys to create better narratives. And the reason why I mentioned Democrat reformers as an example, the Note Kings / 501.
Sure, but just real quick before you go on,
are your people? I would argue. Yeah, those people are looking for fighters, and you need to be able to articulate a narrative that draws those reformers back to your side.
Sure, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree I don't disagree with the Democrats need better messaging. That's true. But I want to talk about the anti-Zionism versus anti-Semitism thing for a moment. Do you believe that the man who murdered someone in Boulder, a Jewish individual in Boulder who was protesting for the hostages that were being held, do you believe that that was an act of anti-Semitism?
Yes.
Okay. Then I think that at least you are fine, or at least on that you are fine. Because I don't know you, but that's a better answer than your representative gave. Much better answer. It disturbs me that your representative couldn't give that answer. And I think that that is the fear that I have as well, is that I see the anti-Semitism on the right. I see it rising. The Groypers, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, everything's Israel. And then I see people like Cenk Uygur. I see people like Hassan. I see people like what's her name? You guys said it in chat earlier. I feel bad that I can't remember her name. Malat Kuros. Malat Kuros. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. That anti-Semitism is dangerous. Like, it's going to hurt my Jewish brothers and sisters that I love, right? And I don't want that in my party. I don't want that anywhere near my party. So the extent I can call it out and get rid of it, I will.
Gotcha. I think my only counter to that would be this. You mentioned Jewish voters. It's very important to also recognize the age difference in Jewish voters. Young Jewish people voted for Zoran, for example, and there is an age gap. There's an age gap among Jewish voters when it comes to how they view Israel, and they don't equate being anti-Zionist.
I don't care if you hate Israel. Like, that's not the point. Like, if you want to hate Israel, you want to cut off aid to Israel, you want to cut off weapon funding or whatever, okay, sure, we can talk about that. But I'm talking about the people who are think it's not anti-Semitism to burn a man alive for protesting, for being at a rally about the hostages. It's not anti-Semitism to yell, "Free Palestine" as you burn a Jewish man alive, who just happened to be at a rally holding a sign. That's a different thing. And I don't like how it gets conflated, right? I don't like how it gets conflated. That people are like, well, we're just anti-Zionist. Like, that might be true for some of you, but it's not true for all of you. And there's a lot of people who are wearing the mask, who are masking on about this subject, who are infiltrating these spaces and changing the culture, changing the narrative, changing how we view the Jewish people as a whole. And we've seen what happens when that happens in country. This is a common thing that happens all throughout history, is the Jews become pariahs and terrible, terrible things happens. And to the extent we can avoid that, I want to.
Okay, you're not gonna get disagreement on me on that.
Okay. Well, anything else you got?
Got any questions for me?
I mean, like, other than the one I was asked, like, no, not really. I think we're just at an impasse here. But thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
I appreciate the discussion. Okay.
Always welcome to give a TSA perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll have you on a panel when you fix your audio. Okay, and you can represent the DSA there. Okay. Sound good?
Deal.
I'll take
Yeah.
it. Bye.
Good day, Wick.
Spoiler alert, it's leftist audio. They never fix their audio. Was that the homemade flamethrower Egyptian attack? I'm not sure if he used a flamethrower or a Molotov cocktail. I'm not sure exactly how he burned the person alive. But he did. So yeah. I don't know. It's just disturbing to me. It's disturbing how normalized this is becoming in our spaces. It's disturbing how many people are just so laissez-faire about this, right? Remember, we have groups of people on the right and the left that are just saying it's okay. It's okay to hate Jewish people who happen to be connected in some way to Israel, even though that connection may be tenuous to the extreme. And don't tell me these Track APAC people aren't a little bit anti-Semitic. We have PACs that are far, far larger, far, far more influential in our government and in our politicians who are donating far more money. And yet, for whatever reason, this one gets special focus. This one gets special treatment, right? It's weird. It's weird how no one really cares about the billions of dollars, or not billions, I should say, millions of dollars that Qatar pumps into our electoral system, into our politicians, into our journalists, into our influencers. How much money comes from that? How much money comes from Russia, right? Tenant Media, you guys remember that? $400,000 an episode to Tim Pool. Crazy work. Hold on. Give me 1 second, gang. 1 second. I got to pause. Sorry about that, gang. I apologize. Things happen. We gotta deal with it. Okay? We got it done. Got it done. Oh, he used Molotovs too? It was both? It was like a flamethrower and Molotovs? Look, I need to look this up. I need to find out now. Ooh, boy. Centrist cameras. True! Leftist audio, centrist cameras. Look, I'm not the one to be talking about tech. Gang, are you excited for me to go to LibCon next, not next week, but the week after, on the 16th and the 17th? I will be streaming it on Friday. I believe that's let me check, let me make sure. Yes, that's the 17th. So for 6 hours, I will be streaming live, and I will be getting a list of, hopefully soon, a list of guests that I will be interviewing, talking to, having conversations with. Soypill will help me out, and we got a couple other people that I think I'm going to try to get in on this too, right? Like I want to give a little screen time to She's Right. She's been on my show a few times. You should know her. I want to give her a chance to shine a little bit. I want to give RGR a chance to have an interview or two. I don't know the specifics, though, of what I'm going to be allowed to do and what I'm not going to be allowed to do. But that's my goal, is to get some of these people. I want to talk to Kraut. I want to have a live panel with Kraut, Bishop, and a few others, right? I would love to do that, but it's going to be what they allow me to do and what they want to. So I'm a little bit constrained. But we will do our best, okay? Hello, you're live.
Oh, hey. Let me just get my camera up. Yeah, actually, it's a good segue about LibCon. I was going to, because I asked you a question and in DMs about like your history politically. Do you mind sharing that a little bit
I
at
don't
first?
mind. I don't mind. We can go.
Oh, wait, I can't hear you.
Public. Leaking DMs live.
me.
Okay, no,
It's
he just
probably me.
asked me what my history politically was, and I said I'd get back to him, and I lied.
Okay, I can
I
probably
never
hear you
did.
now.
So now is a good time to call me out and do that, right?
That's the microphone.
I've been a Democrat my entire life, politically, right? I was a little more left-leaning when I was growing up, when I was in college, when I was in high school, and things like that. I was much more progressive. But as I've gotten older, I've seen the error of my ways and how that stuff just did not work and was not effective. And some of the thoughts I had were just incorrect. I just had an incorrect view of the world. And I have since become much more liberal. And to be clear, I've been a liberal for about, I would say, 20 years now, maybe a little less. But it's been a while. But I've always been a Democrat. And I give a lot of credit to my uncle growing up for kind of helping me understand politics, because he'd sit me down, we watched the Clinton debate with who was the Ross Perot, I believe it was at the time, and George Bush Sr. And I remember him talking to me about the things that they were saying, kind of putting into context, all these things. Sad though that he's since become a MAGA guy. He fell in the SJW era, right? In like 2014, 2015. He fell prey to that kind of propaganda, so that's very sad. But yeah, I always give him credit for initially kind of showing me why Democrats were just better than Republicans. And
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Like, if you think about Destiny's background, I mean, his parents, well, at least his mother is a MAGA supporter. I have real respect for him coming from that background. I mean, I was also, let's say we're both politically privileged in terms of upbringing then. It sounds similar-ish to my own background, and of course, there's more of a parallel in the UK. And yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, I saw American politics. At some points, I was frustrated with America, I must be honest. I have been frustrated with America. America was almost a little bit more right-wing than Europe in many respects, including the Dems, if we're honest. I feel like that's changed now. I feel like the Dems have stayed where they are, moved a little bit more leftwards, whilst left-wing parties in Europe have I don't know if you saw me in chat. I was kind of hypothesizing that the left, generally in all our democracies, I think there's so little difference now, is polarizing to three sectors. You've got this kind of far left movement that are becoming very ideological, very staunch in the way they see what they will call socialism. You've got these kind of I'd call them progressives in the American context, perhaps pragmatists, in my opinion. They're willing to just look at an evidence-based approach, and then you still have this kind of status quo. Let's just do as it's always been done. And I think both wings can be damaging. I think at the moment, of course, it's the far left. I mean, in Europe, in UK
Yeah, I
context, the Greens are completely off their heads. But
I will agree with your major kind of thrust here that like any political faction can be done poorly. So centrists or moderates or pragmatists who simply just are inert and don't want to do anything differently and don't want to do any sort of change or growth or anything like that is damaging. Even though I would largely probably agree with some of the things that they say, they're the way that their policies or their approach manifests ends up in inertia. And that's if we're going to take an evidence-based approach to things, we have to recognize that, and we got to wrestle with that's not good for a nation, that's not good for a people, that's not good for anyone, and we need to at least have some growth in different areas. Does that mean that all change is good? Absolutely not. Like
no,
one
for
of the
sure,
frustrations
yeah.
I'm having now is a lot of people want fighters. Okay, they want people who fight, who do something, quote unquote,
and break things.
Yeah,
but when they don't recognize that even in our current circumstance, you can do the complete opposite, and it will also have potentially even worse effects. Like
yes.
The correction is not revolution, which is what some people are literally talking about now. But I do think we have to be honest and open about the criticisms of, I think probably the Clinton era, not so much. Obama inherited a complete mess up. Biden only had one term, and it's always in the US about how much power a president really has, depending on whether they have the Senate and the House of Representatives. But I definitely think Clinton and Blair in parallel, and I think it's part of the '90s hangover, like the celebration of, if you want to call it even capitalism. I have my issues with isms as well these days, but like the Western democracies succeeded clearly, and I think we became a bit blasé and just thought, well, we don't need to change anything anymore. I mean, to say we, I mean our governments, and I think those centre-left governments made that mistake of not questioning, can we improve upon what we already have? And it left to a level of stagnation in our societies. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yes and no. When it comes to what should we have done differently during the Clinton era, the Obama era, etc., the question becomes, if we did something differently, would it be better or would it be worse? Like, yes, ideally, if we could have been perfect overseers of those times and there was no opposition and we could get done every single thing that we wanted, yes, obviously things would be better. But we don't live in a world where we have no opposition to things, right? We don't live in a world where we can get everything we want. And we have to be able to operate under the assumption that there will be opposing forces, not just from the right, but from the left and from other factions within the government. And because when we talk about the people versus elites and populist rhetoric as all, it is a mistake to think that the people are united. People want different things, and people of the same class want different things. They want to bring us into different directions. And so when we look at the Clinton era specifically, we have to remember after Clinton's elections in 92, 94 was one of the biggest booms for Republicans ever. They got 40 plus seats, right? It was crazy how things shifted. And so Clinton had to operate in the reality there he did not have a friendly House or Senate, right? Well, I forget how the Senate was at the time, right? But like there was a rising tide of republicanism at the time against his election that he had to struggle with. And remember, the previous 20 years or more of our governing was seen back to back to back, only interrupted by Carter because of Nixon, back to back to back since the '68 Republican rule, and yeah, you have to operate within that time frame. So I guess my question is, how would he have done better? What could he have done
Yeah,
more?
that's very true. I mean, and also it's a collective effort. That's one of the differences between the US system and most European systems. It's just how little power the president often has. And the president's held to account for everything, but if they don't have the Senate and they don't have the representatives at the same time, pretty much, then there's just so much compromise involved. And so the Republicans have a big say actually in what happens, but they end up taking no accountability, no responsibility for that era. It's like, hey, it wasn't us, and yet historically at least, look at the mistake I've made. We shouldn't forget that they did have some responsibility in that era, and they did have some responsibility in what policies got through. So I think it's a good point. That is a difference because I mean Blair had big majorities.
People
and
are
I'm not
asking
gonna,
you if you're Mr. Girl.
I've seen who Mr. Girl is. Okay, I don't know if I will take that as a modest insult, given he seems a bit of a weird character. But I don't know him well enough to say that strongly enough.
Look, I can
yeah,
see I can see the resemblance, but when you start to talk, they should just like, oh, well, he's not pausing
maybe they
every
need to turn
10
the sound
seconds
on. Yeah.
to do some dramatic sigh. So yeah, he's not Mr. Girl, but I think it was a funny comparison. That's all.
I'll take it as a compliment. He looked quite. He sounds quite charismatic when he speaks, but I don't know about his intent. But maybe.
And sorry. I know I'm
No,
distracting.
I feel like I need to dig up some old videos. That would be a good way to procrastinate. No, just going back, I think it's a good reminder. Yeah, the mistake I just made in terms of judging a government of the day. I do think it was a bit different with Blair. There were a lot of things that they kind of insinuated they would do. I mean, in the UK, I mean, let me be open about my politics. I do believe in a mixed market economy. I've been reading a few months ago. I was going to write an article about like the history of socialism, what socialism even means, because at the beginning of the 20th century, like the founding fathers of our left-wing parties in Europe, one good example to read about is called Edward Bernstein in Germany, and there are these different factions of socialists. Some think, well, we need a mixed market in the meantime, but the ideal is everything is kind of cooperatives and state-owned. He was like, no. The ideal is the mixed market. We have private companies as part of the market, and he considered that his socialism. And so this kind of branch went off into forms of socialism like liberal socialism, which is the kind of form that Tony Blair would have called himself. So it's not the kind of socialism that people are talking about these days. And I was like my parents would have called themselves, or probably still call themselves, socialist, but they mean this, not this. Frankly, what DSA seems to be going towards. Although I'm sure, in fairness, some DSA members probably would read about this guy's form of socialism and go, "Hey, this is what I want." They still exist. So like Econ Boy, whatever his name was now.
I remember Econ Boy. He's
Econ
Boy,
in peace.
and he's still alive, gang. He just doesn't stream anymore, but he still exists. Right?
Okay, but his virtual
somewhere.
persona is now a rest in peace. Because he seemed like a pretty reasonable guy. And so I DM'd him for a while, and I'm not as left wing as he is, but I can respect his form of socialism. It's not what's becoming the dominant form today, both in Europe and the US. But nevertheless, if you look at the 20th century and the founding fathers of left wing parties in Europe, and then what it became later on, it was much more pragmatic. And some of that I still take into my politics. Is why I don't like to assign myself an ism, shall we say. Although more recently I found myself being pushed towards the center by the extreme on the left. I'm really, I don't know about embracing liberalism. I feel reluctant. I don't like to quote people like Churchill. I don't think he was great in many respects, if I'm honest. But he was like, democracy is the best of the worst of what's practical and what we can do. And I think it's some respect true of liberalism. Like I hear a lot of disgusting positions and opinions, but I'm relieved and happy to have those debates. I'm concerned when the debates stop. It's like the other day with the USA discussion. I mean, at least the other two came on and discussed. I mean, you have to give them that respect.
You
right?
do have to give them that respect, yes.
Even
That's what I'll say. You do have to give them that respect, yes.
And that's key, and part of that is having a liberal democracy.
Yes.
And so I still wouldn't call myself a liberal, because I think it's too much of a generalization. And like, I do believe in by a lot of people's standards, legislation of markets, of social media, something that I think we disagree on. And I think that I therefore can't call myself like a thoroughbred liberal, but I'm very much inspired by liberalism.
I'm glad that you are inspired by me. I appreciate you.
And you, I said liberalism, and I mean,
I know
you could
that's
be
the joke.
personification of it.
I'm joke. Look, that's the joke, bro. Okay, that's what I was trying to get across. That I am the avatar of liberalism. That's the. Never mind. It's not funny when I explain it. Okay,
No,
well,
it's true. It's true. I'm sorry.
You should be. You should apologize. I'll accept your apology. I'll accept your apology in the form of money later. But for now, I guess my question to you, since you're on, right? We're talking, like, what needs to change with how we have these discussions? So I think we both agree that these discussions should be had, and it's good that we have them. But what are the? I guess I'll put it in this context. One of the struggles that I'm having as someone who is trying to host debates and host discussions, finding people on the right who aren't just insane. And I don't know what to do about that, because there is, and I was a little annoyed about it when it was commented, but there is some truth to the comment that was made, that this isn't a discussion. This is just two people lying and two people trying to point out their lies. So I don't know how to fix that, though.
Well, maybe, it's reflecting on sometimes that some things are actually going right. Those debates also need to be had, and it's good. I think, I say we, I mean, I jumped in, but certainly Destiny and Alice did well to highlight the hypocrisy of it. And in the end, they started pulling back. It was more like, well, there needed to be more checks and measures. And so in the end, I think it got to quite a healthy place. I think a lot of things went right with that debate.
I agree. I liked it overall. And to be clear, I think it was the people who were involved, they want to come back. So that's good. But I just want to make it, I want to make it more productive, I guess. I don't know. Maybe
you can only do so much. I mean,
maybe too close to it. Yeah.
I think you could have like pre-shows where you don't have the opponents on, but you make clearer the position that they would face, and then literally open hand of invitation in that video to the people that you want to have on. Say, look, we're open, and this is the discussion we'd have.
One of the things I've thought about doing, but there's some issues with it. So I'm going to tell you what I've been thinking about doing about a new segment called Steel Manning the Right, where I take the part of a right-winger and I honestly, to the best of my ability, argue for these right-wing positions. My concern with doing that, because to be clear, I could argue their positions better than most of them. Like, I could argue it better than Andrew Wilson, Rob Noor, fucking Ryan Mullally, that fucking Tyler Vogelfrey guy, the Gibbs, all of them. I'm just a better debater than they are. So I think that some of the positions that they have, we need defenses against, right? We need to be able to actually engage with the best version of the argument of these people, right? Of these ideologies. My concern with this is more of a personal one. Already people paint me as a right-winger. So I'm worried that me steel manning and making clear that I don't believe this, but I am making these arguments in the best faith possible, is going to be like getting me, like, it's just going to be paint me out as like some right-wing psycho. And I don't know how to fix that.
Well, if they're already trying to do that anyway, I mean, I don't know if it's really going to. You have to do it in such a bad faith way. I think it will reflect more people on the people that are trying to do it in a bad faith way. And these are the kind of risks that just need to be taken. I must be honest, it's one of I didn't know explicitly your background politically, like you've just described now. It's one of the reasons I asked rather than assumed. So if someone's assuming it without asking or having clear evidence or seeing some kind of 5-second clip,
Here's the thing. I'm not a fanatic, right? There are things when the Democrats are wrong, I will say that they are wrong, right? I disagree with court packing. I do. And a lot of Democrats are saying that's what we need to do. I disagree. I fundamentally think that that's a bad position. That doesn't make me right wing. And I guess that's another thing. How do we get people to understand that not agreeing 100% with your party does not mean you're not part of the party? I don't know how to fix that either.
Well, that's a different discussion about the nature of the debate. So, because you have two categories of debates, you have debates against right wingers, and then you have the internal debates, like we've often had in regards to like legislating media platforms. And I don't think then it's more of an internal debate within the left, and that's also critical because polarization is happening on those two different levels, and I don't think it's any coincidence that those are the areas where debate is both needed. We have polarization on the left in these three poles, as I kind of laid out, and then we have also the left-right polarization. And so I think both those discussions need to take place, and I think we lead by example. I disagree with you on court packing. I would need to look at it perhaps in more detail, but it's not an overly complicated thing. I think it's about the level of non-cooperation that should be taken in some kind of tit-for-tat strategy. I'm very pro that. There's a tit-for-tat with a level of forgiveness. I won't bring up his name. I debated one guy who's now joined the Snarkers on the matter, and I think I did pretty well in that debate, and I laid out the importance of that. With, as I say, like a level of forgiveness. Sometimes you just cooperate to kind of, hand over a fig leaf. But I think court packing is a good example of that. But if you disagree with me, I mean, I completely respect your opinion, and I think that that's an important ingredient, and that's what it is to be a liberal. If you're going to say you've got any liberal strand to yourself, you should be able to disagree with a take that's coming from a good faith position, even on the right. But I mean, I don't understand how that can be considered right wing just because you disagree with somebody.
Look, well, this is the problem. Like this is the environment that we live in on social media. Any deviation from the party line gets you painted out as the enemy, and this has done a disservice to our discourse. And I miss how it was back when I first started, where right wingers would engage with us, right? That they would come on our shows, they would talk to us, even when it was a hostile environment. Like I remember them going on Prime Kai's, for example, and other shows, right? Hippy Dippy, mine even for years. And then after I think it was after 2024, actually, they stopped. And I'm not sure why. Because nothing really changed with how we engaged. Or at least not that I noticed. But they just stopped, and I don't know why. I have my suspicions. I think that the Fortress Arc thing is it's the strat that people are using. And I see more of the far left doing this too.
I mean, I sent to Destiny today, actually. It was just a screenshot of someone on X. I don't know if they were selling a book. I don't know if they were the author of the book. It's a new book about Stalin. And I'm going to be frank, they're Stalin apologists. And I'm thinking, well, isn't this a parallel with Hitler apologists on the right? And it's shocking that we now have this on the left. And I'm not going to name names because maybe I should.
You should name names. Give us the dirt. Expose it live on Wick TV. This is the very normal, totally hinged.
Okay, let's see. Okay, one of the reasons is because I forgot their name, but let me just. I'm going to get their name up. There's a journalist that I follow. I interact with sometimes. He replies to my comments sometimes. Called Aaron Bastani. That's Bastani. If anyone wants to look him up on X, he's very active on X. He is one of the runners of Novara Media, which is often pretty far left in its views, but they do have journalists on that are kind of nearer to the center. I
Sure.
won't call them center left, but they do try and show different sides of left wing perspectives. And I find this quite shocking from him because he can be often pragmatic. He said, "Great book, can't recommend it enough. The apologetics go too far at times, and good to read alongside Deutsche biography, but the primary material in it is 100%." He's put. And like, so I go and click on it, and they've got a bunch of bullet points about how amazing Stalin was, basically. And like the Soviet Union defeated Japanese imperialism in both Manchuria and Korea. Like no mention of the help that America gave Soviet Union. It's very, very black and white.
Very propaganda style. I haven't read the book, so
Yeah.
I'm taking your
Well,
word.
yeah, exactly. I haven't read the book, but I wouldn't dare. To be honest, I wouldn't read a book like this because I wouldn't really trust what their bias is. I'll be constantly, trying to fact check everything they say. I mean, what a waste of time that would be. Some books you don't read for that reason, right? And this is just an example of what seems to be going on the left. There's very, very polarizing positions. And I followed their media channel for a while. It could be quite pragmatically left, but these groups seem to be going to this very, very polarized position. And it's quite scary because it's mimicking some of the things that happened on the right. I remember I talk a lot of politics with my parents, more than is probably healthy, considering there's other things to talk about with your parents, right? And I remember saying about 10 years ago, there's going to be a green fascist movement in the UK and probably elsewhere. It's kind of this counterreaction to not doing enough is just desperately trying to do too much. And if the populace isn't going to follow you, then you start to become much more aggressive in that way. I really do believe that online platforms are playing a massive role in amplifying this. I mean, you said 2024 you saw a change. Did you not see a change in earlier than this, though?
I mean, look, there's obviously been changes, but when I'm talking about this space, I'm talking about the debate space, right? When we talk about panel spaces or when we have debates, like it was very much easier to get people on the right than it is now. I can still do it, but so many right wingers, and it's not just my platform, they won't go on any platforms that aren't right wing, like any of them. They have to either be right wing or right wing adjacent, or at least friendly towards right wingers. Yeah, it's just odd. It's something that I've noticed, and we adjust. We make adjustments, right? That's why I do some culture war content a lot more now. Well, not a lot more now. And in the political debates I'm having are more center left versus left. But yes, like for example, Pondering Politics earlier jumped in and said he wanted to set up a debate on Trump corruption. I can get the same right wingers I normally get to have this discussion. But if I want someone new, if I want someone different and unique, which is important for channel interest and growth, it's very, very hard now. Like if this was 2023, it'd be much easier for me. 2025, 2024, harder. 2025, much harder. 2026, it's no one's coming.
I mean, I would suggest on that topic, you can make it, even though it's not neutral, you can make it as a debate topic more neutral. Is corruption worse, better or worse on the Democrat or the Republican side? To at least give them some space, the Republicans that will come on.
Yep.
Because they're probably going to have that view, right? The Democrats are also corrupt, Hillary Clinton, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's the argument. The argument is that this is why I say I could steelman their argument better. What they would say is they'd point to things like the quality learning centers and the fraud, waste, and abuse within California, within Democratic strongholds and states, right? If these people had the power of the federal government, it would be far worse. And the only reason that Trump's is worse now is because he has the power of the federal government. But if these positions were reversed, they would be just as, if not more, corrupt. It's a hard argument to make because the facts aren't on their side, right? But that's what you'd have to retreat to, right? That's where you'd have to focus. And the debate tactic would be to focus on things like the scandals that have rocked, what was it, Michigan, wherever Walz was governor of, right? And Newsom's issues in California and other such things. Like
you
that's
should give
where
them
you
space
would try
to go through
keep
that.
your focus.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd have to give them space to go through it for it to be appealing for them
Yeah,
to
yeah.
come on in the first place. I just the reason I asked this, I mean, okay, so in the debate space, it's maybe more recent, but I think it's like some of the end stages of what's been going on for decades. There was an interesting, I mean, I like graphs. I'm a scientist, but a plot of breadth of vocabulary of the president over time and how that was diminishing, and then there was a blip because Obama's vocabulary was so good. And I think it ended in the Trump version 1.0 era, this plot. But it was this completely diminishing breadth of vocabulary over time. And I think that goes hand in hand with just how politics is being discussed. And now we have the question of what the spaces in which they're being discussed. We have more spaces but on the internet, but they're much poorer quality. When you have in-person political conversations, they tend to be healthier than the kind of things you find on X. And I do find it crazy. I mean, I'm accused of being a raging capitalist, a raging communist sometimes, Zionist, and I've had the opposite position, or like Hamas lover at one point, just because I look at some nuance in the discussion, any nuance. And that's the point. I was out this evening. We have this kind of end of semester party for the students, and it's great. It's an international physics course, so I get to meet people from all around the world. And I'm still young enough for them to think I'm a student this evening. It was quite funny. And one girl, she's from Lebanon, and I've had a few discussions. There's quite a few Middle Eastern students at our university. And with them, it's a little different. I mean, she's calling home a lot. Things are going really, really badly in Lebanon. And so, of course, with her, I discuss things in a much more sensitive way in terms of politics. I do emphasize that the change in Israeli politics from the 90s during the Oslo Accords, I do think there was a key change. Because she went back, she said, oh, we've been having this since 1947. I mean, she's young, and no, of course it's not since 1947 been like this. And yeah, she doesn't remember earlier times. But you have to really think about your audience. Sometimes people, even with good faith, will have some pretty radical positions, and sometimes you have to be understanding. But
one of I want to jump in here because I think this is important, and I think this kind of speaks to why your statement about how in-person political discussions seem to go off more healthier than ones online. We have forgotten in a real way that the people we are engaging with online are actually human beings, that they're
Exactly.
actually people, that they actually have, the same hopes, feelings, dreams, intelligence levels that we do. And we have kind of painted, and it's easier to do because it is online, because a lot of it is in text, even on the voice calls, though. These are people, like, it's just different, right? It's hard for me to kind of elucidate right now, but it's just different. I think it is hurting our ability to actually have honest discussions. Now, if I had the money and the resources, and I was thinking about doing this at one point, it just wasn't economically feasible for me. Maybe it will be one day. But I wanted to start an in-person studio where I would bring people from each side together and actually have them on a sit-down thing and talk. And we're going to do that a little bit at LibCon. I'm going to plug that a little bit, right? Where we're going to have in-person discussions and debates and things like that. I'm still working on the details on that. But I just don't have the resources to do that. I just don't. So here we are.
But I think it's a message on the internet to send to people. Is to talk to strangers, talk to friends, even when they have different political views. And when it's very difficult, then don't do it so often, perhaps, if it's going to cause friction. But don't stop doing it either, because that's often the space where the reasonable discussions to be had. And in physics, we have these processes called irreversible processes. It's like when you mix a cup of coffee, you put milk into a coffee, you can't unmix the milk and take it out of the coffee, right? Or it's a much harder process, right? And there's a lot of that stuff that goes on in politics. And frankly, that's the scariest thing to me. The radicalization is often basically irreversible. I don't think people know this about Nazi Germany.
As an example, and not to call you out, Lydia, but saying a human being would never be a Republican unless they've been lied to or forced to. Do you understand how that that's not a helpful statement, nor is it a true statement. It's just, I mean, it's a failure to be able to empathize and see someone who has strong disagreements with you as a human being. And that's a problem for you, right? That's a problem for you. And it's going to lead you to really bad ways of thinking. I don't know. It's a crazy thing to say, but go ahead.
With all the good intent, I'm sure it's a bit of an online influence to think that way. And I know that for myself, I've been on X for about a year, and it's not being good for my brain. Now, just to go back to the Nazi, I can give you a very short anecdote about my grandfather was a refugee to the UK from Austria. He didn't even know about his Jewish heritage until the 1930s. And he was forced to flee. And one of the people that helped him flee or told him that he was on a list in Austria was a friend who eventually joined the SS himself. So his best friend ended up becoming a Nazi. Right. I don't know how you square this. I mean, I'm sure this stuff is happening to some, not to those extremes, but in the US, people really who know other good people who remain friends, then join MAGA, right? So it's that kind of thing, but on another level. And let's not forget to say there is another level to this. And then after the war, they're friends again. And in fact, I'm still friends with his grandchildren. So our families have been friends for generations. And I went to visit his wife for coffee and cake, as you do in Austria and Germany. Kraut will tell you about that. And she welcomed me in, the son von Walter Ullmann. Oh, come rein, come in. And she sat me down and asked me if I wanted coffee and cake. And you know what I saw on the wall? There was a picture of her husband in SS uniform.
Wow.
And apparently she's still very proud of what he did during the war. She never, ever lost that pride. She was quiet about it after the war. And she's like many other Austrians and other Germans in 1945. They didn't go away. They just went quiet. This also ties in with the Israeli-Palestinian thing, and it ties in with the conversation I would have liked to have had this evening, but I didn't have with this girl in the end. Probably because I was also flirting. But the hostile environment that European Jews were meant to go back to instead of going somewhere else or fleeing. And it wasn't just then. The synagogue in my grandfather's village was destroyed hundreds of years ago during another pogrom. Right? This is a repeated history for Jewish peoples. But when that extremism rises, people get embarrassed and they stop talking about it, but it doesn't actually go away. It's an irreversible process. And that's why we must do as much as we can, and it's limited. You can only do so much, Wick, to prevent the rise of extremism now, because a lot of it, not all of it, some people will see the light, a lot of it will be irreversible. And what we need to do is make it embarrassing enough that they go quiet about it. But it's not going to be a complete heal.
It's rewarded. You will get not just monetary rewards, but social rewards for screaming about how the other side is all monsters that want to kill you. This is what just look at the successful politics channels out there. 90% of them are that, right? Are painting the other side as evil monsters, inhuman, that want to kill you all. And look, I'm not trying to both sides this. Obviously, the Republicans are worse in every single way, policy-wise. But there's a difference between saying that their policies are horrific and going to hurt people than if you're a Republican, you're not even a human being. Like, there's a difference in these statements. And I think we need to... It's a balancing act because they are worse. But they're not... I don't know. How are we going to ever get to a point where we have any kind of unity in this country if we think the other side are just murderous monsters who want to kill us? I don't know.
Yeah, but it's as I say, it's about prevention of that growing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can compare it to a cancer, and it's not about the individuals being evil in themselves, but as a movement. And there was another thing which I wrote about for the pragmatic papers about my tit for tat philosophy and belief. Right, I'm quite staunchly a tit for tat strategy type person.
I'm a tit man myself, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm on more legs actually. Yeah. I really support like a non-cooperative action in the face of non-cooperation. But that doesn't mean to say that the rhetoric has to be aggressive. In fact, the rhetoric has to be the opposite. If you look at the studies on, let's describe this as a populist movement, dealing with that, you must not feed the victim narrative. And if the rhetoric sounds that way, then they're going to just use that against you, and they will get more power for that and say, look, they are aggressive, they are violent. Now, whether some characters on the internet can use that as a vessel for getting attention and then discuss politics, but the politicians themselves definitely shouldn't do that. They should be considerate and often ignore what is being said by the far right. But in terms of the action, the political action, whether it be votes, and I'm sorry about court packing, for example, should quietly do this, not in an aggressive way, as an vindictive way, but some of these actions need to be done as a means of non-cooperation. And very, very occasionally you cooperate and say, look, fig leaf, do you take it now? And this is a strategy in game theory within stochastic, like noisy environments, which is a good description of politics that works. But the rhetoric, it's easy to confuse that strategy with a rhetorical strategy. Rhetorical strategy should be very, very different.
Well, let me just ask you directly. Would it be better to not do the tit for tat at all and have the rhetorical strategy be not tit for tat as well, right? And what I mean by that is not like revenge based, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Would that be better, or would be you get the tit for tat like you want, but also it comes with and yes, this is to punish those evil Republican fools, and we're going to make them hurt, blah, blah, blah. Which is better?
Well, you're starting to sound like Pisco, with a false dichotomy to some extent. But I will say this: the former that you suggested is basically what the Democrats have been doing, and that's led us to this point. I mean, some of the rhetoric has been a bit adverse.
Adversarial, yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
You're fine.
But there's been attempts at. There's been so many fig leaves. They might have a fig orchard right now. I mean, I think that just needs to stop. And if it comes with a little bit of unhinged rhetoric, as I said, it depends on how much, right? I mean, it doesn't have to go full hilt.
Sure.
But that's why I like Newsom, right? I mean, Newsom doesn't historically appeal to my politics on a legislative in terms of policy.
I get it. I just don't think he's the dude. I don't think he's the one. I think that he would be a mistake to pick for our 2028 nomination. I don't think he does it. I think we need the strongest candidate, and he's not it. Asaf, Bashir,
how would you change?
Shapiro. Those are the three.
But how would you? What is it that Newsom's lacking?
I don't think he has cross ideological appeal at all. So the three I mentioned, Bashir, Ossoff, and Shapiro, have a history of winning over Republicans, right? They are staunch Democrats. They are very anti-MAGA, and Shapiro especially, has a history of actually getting things done in purple to red-leaning states. I think we need someone like that for the moment that we're meeting, right? Like, Shapiro has sued the Trump government. Like, he's not afraid to go after Trump malfeasance. But yes, he isn't one of those people who's like, fuck the MAGA, like, bullshitters. Like, he's not a memer like Newsom is. And I know that the internet wants memers, but I don't think voters do.
I don't think Newsom. Well, this goes back to this discussion of like, do you want the tit for tat actions and then the kind of more abrasive rhetoric? I don't think Newsom's pushed it at times, but I think generally he's been combative but not abrasive. And I do think there needs to be a level of combativeness to it, like to rally the Dems to vote. Like, there needs to be a rallying cry. And also, I'm far from. I think the Dems have a lot of good choices, and that's a positive thing. But there also needs to be an appeal to the pragmatic, the progressive wing, of the Democrats, because you need to pull them away from the far left. Because at the moment, that's what seems to be happening, right? And I even worry about AOC. I don't know why she came out. She didn't have to come out against the recent nominees, but like it's a bit embarrassing. And AOC's been pretty supportive of Ukraine, for example, I think, right? So why could she just glaze over that?
I don't know.
Because it's a bit worrying, isn't it?
A little. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to judge her entirely on it. I think that's the whole point, right? We have to see the sum of people's words and actions. But I think you need to appeal to that part of the Democrats because they're a bit homeless right now in a way. I mean, she's had it from people who are basically Hamas supporters,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And at the same time, I think actually the policy idea of maybe even some sanctions or minimalizing military support towards Israel might be an important policy position, with some extra guarantees of direct intervention to defend Israel, like making it clear that that's what the US would do.
I worry because I think that it is entirely reasonable to look at what's going on in Israel, Palestine, and being like, we should cut off our aid to Israel, right? I think that's an entirely reasonable position to hold. I think it's something that you can defend, and it's probably there are moral reasons to want this. The problem I'm having is that, much like your metaphor of the coffee having the milk mixed in, people who believe that, they've had milk poured into them, and these people are like, well, yes, we need to do that, and also destroy Israel, and also find all the Israel supporters and round them up and put them in camps. That was an actual person, like, who was a candidate, said that on the left, right? To find the Zionists and put the Zionists in camps, right? And people are seeing violence against Jewish people who have even tenuous connections to Israel and excusing it, minimizing it, downplaying it, right? Whatabouting it, like, well, that's bad, but what about the victims of Palestine, blah, blah, blah. And so I worry that giving an inch to that wing of the party risks smuggling in everything else, right? Like, you're taking a bite of an apple with some rotten parts, and I don't think you could separate the rotten parts from the apple anymore. I think that you just have to, if you're going to do that, if you're going to appeal to that, recognize that that's what you're appealing to, right?
I mean,
not all of them are
that's
that, but enough.
That's a slippery. I mean, that's a slippery slope. I don't agree with the risk of going more and more towards going towards truly anti-Israeli position. I mean, my perspective is, as a friend of Israel, like, Israel's a bit off its head at the moment, next to a really crazed meth addict as a neighbor, Hamas and Hezbollah, right? And then that needs to be made clear in the same breath. But nevertheless, the Israeli government is not helping the situation either. And as a friend, sometimes, if your friend's an alcoholic, you don't always buy
cut
them
them off.
alcohol.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And so I don't think it has to be part of a slippery slope. And I agree, it won't necessarily appeal to a lot of the milk that's mixed into the coffee now. On the other hand, it might stop the rot, frankly, of like that being appealing, especially if it's effective in some way and brings Israel
Do we think
back.
it will be?
Well, when in the next Israeli elections, because it could help persuade the Israeli electorate to start looking at a more moderate government. Because frankly, they're MAGA, right? The Israeli MAGA, what's in power right now.
I worry that it will have the opposite effect, actually. That it will play into the narrative that Netanyahu and his faction are pushing, that because Netanyahu's looking to cut off ties to America in many ways. He wants to minimize connection because Biden especially was a leash, whether the other side recognizes that or not, or the progressives recognize that or not. It was something that was an obstacle to the worst excesses of Israel, right? So he wants this cutoff thing, and it's going to, the narrative that is going to happen is going to be like, see, no one else in the world is going to protect you from Hamas and the people who want to kill you. Only our government, only Netanyahu is able to do what is necessary and willing to do what is necessary to defend you in these times. And I think it's just going to radicalize them more. That's my fear.
I think it really comes down to, I don't know how much, I mean, I guess they are restocking in Israel after their, I mean, all the defense they've had against Iranian rockets, but I guess it would come down to numbers and what kind of pressure it could put on Israel. If it's not going to put any pressure, then it's tokenistic. It backfires.
So I don't know. I don't have access to the data I would need
Yeah.
to make that call, right?
I think that would be the basis of the call, because I don't believe the Israeli government are going to call a bluff when they simply don't have the ammunition to truly defend themselves and take the risk of saying, right, let's just isolate ourselves. Because they are reliant upon, and Germany is, by the way, like 1/3 of bombs are made in Germany for Israel. Like it's
Yeah.
not just the US.
Yeah.
And so I think that shouldn't be forgotten. Like if the US does it, but Germany just fills the void, I mean, that's not going to help either. So it does need to lead to a practical change. But if if it did, and it was shown to work, and of course it would reduce the argument on the far left, like, well, look, you're seeing a change in Israel. And of course there will be the hardcore, the milk that's mixed in with the coffee that just simply never change their views. But it will stop more people going towards that position. And it will be a good example of pragmatic politics actually working.
Yeah, I just don't know. I think that if you're having to sit there and say you're on the Israeli war board out of the Department of Defense, whatever they have, I don't know the name of it, right? And you're looking at it and you realize that you're going to lose a lot of your defensive capabilities coming up. America's going to cut you off, and let's say you're going to lose 1/3 of it. It's a huge number, right? It's a substantial amount. And you're like, damn, well, these people are going to keep shooting rockets at us unless we kill them, right? Unless we do some actual fucking carpet bomb, Dresden style, fire bomb every single one of them and just
I think they've pretty much done that in Gaza already.
No, I mean yes, but no. Like if they wanted to kill all the Gazans, right? They could, right? It would be easy. But they've taken at least some steps, and it's not enough. Oh, I know. I see my chat going crazy already. It's not enough at all, right? And they've been very callous in how they've gone about it. But like, again, if you put their back against the wall, they do have options that are a lot more horrific than what they're using now.
Well, yeah,
and
they
I
have
worry
nukes
that they
as
would.
well. I mean, so I mean, I think you have to have intelligence. I'm sure the U.S. government.
Yeah, I just don't know the numbers. I don't know the. I don't know. I don't have access to the information I would need to make the proper call. I just don't.
Yeah, but I'm saying hypothetically, if it could be seen to have an effect, I think it could be a decent policy position. At the same time as taking harsher measures against Hamas, re-implementing sanctions against Iran that have been now taken away by the Trump government, which would be a really kind of ironic position that the Dems would be doing that, where the Republicans were cozying up to Iran, which is going to be. I mean,
well, to be clear, they lost a war to Iran. They lost.
Yes,
and it was a surrender. We surrendered, and we're basically giving them billions of dollars and lifting all sanctions, and it's crazy, right? So,
I mean, how do you think about comparing it to the Suez Canal crisis of Britain in '56? I think it was.
I don't know British stuff, man. You have me at this.
Well, okay, like basically, they were trying to blackmail the Egyptians, if I remember correctly, and cutting off the Suez Canal and saying that. Well, the Egyptians were wanting to control the Suez Canal, and then Britain went in with armed forces, and the Americans said, "Sorry, we're not going to help you, Britain. In fact, we were against it." It was one of the most the coldest periods of, well, until recently with Starmer and Trump, but the coldest periods in the British-US relationship, and it was it's seen as one of the end points of the British Empire, where Britain realized it no longer had the power to just throw around globally,
just to back up its moves. Yeah. I think well, that's the worry, right? Could you imagine America doing something like that? Like, so first of all, we just lost a war to Iran. We can't really back up our sanctions very, very well, right? They've proven they could just ignore us, unfortunately. Imagine us cutting off Israel and then being like, so who the fuck cares? And then just going on. And we're sitting there with our dick in our hands, right? That's worrisome too, from just a pragmatic perspective. Because one of the uses of empire or power or influence is basically the threat of it. You don't actually have to utilize a lot of the force that you have. It's very expensive, right? The costs and fuel of mobilizing our military and having them like involved is astronomical. We can't sustain it forever, right? But one of the reasons people don't fuck with us and they obey us is because they know that if we choose to, we can and we will. And I don't. And if that threat goes away, and if they see we are like a paper tiger, I worry that that's gonna lessen our influence everywhere. And suddenly people are like, no, we're just gonna ignore you.
I mean, I think most people have been shocked with it, right? I mean, some munitions I know are kind of 50% depleted in the US arsenal right now, with like 50%. There's no like small margins of usage. It's going to take years to refill that arsenal at a time where China's looking and thinking, maybe this is an opportunity, or even Russia and Europe, right? When then America, I would never trust the US right now coming to Europe's help, even if there are tactical nukes used.
That's sad, but I understand. Yeah.
And it's Europe's fault. I think it's been for a while. Trump version 1, like Europe should have started preparing. I definitely think that's true. It's ironic that Trump says that, but he's the danger that Europe should have been looking out for. But I mean, with the Iranian war that America's just lost, I think even those who are most skeptical about it or against it, not because they like the Iranian government, because they didn't think it would succeed, would think it would fail so badly. I mean, it's clear because of drone technology that the notion of having a conventional navy, in fact, you may have helped the Iranians out, because now they've got rid of all this obsolete material that they don't have to then keep semi-repaired, and then they can just upgrade to a more modern military. It's shocking how powerful a more a drone-based solution is, and Iran's shown that, and we didn't. Even skeptics would, I think, are shocked by what's happened.
Yep.
It's
the
even
world's
thinner
changing, man. The world's changing. We gotta move, adapt, or die. Isn't that the thing they say? But anyway, man. Thanks for calling in. I don't want to go for like 5 hours tonight, like I did yesterday.
No problem. Yeah, it was good to talk to you, Wick. Anyway, and there's a lot more to talk about in regards to this stuff.
We got so much. And gang, I'm looking. One last thing before I let you go and before I let everyone go. I'm looking for topics for next week. Political topics, to be clear. We can do drama another day. I want to go back to politics. I want to go back to things. So if you have things that you think are useful to talk about, that you think that would be interesting to have, and you want to talk about it on my channel, DM me. Get in contact with me. Let me know. And we will set something up. But thank you for being here, buddy. And I'm going to let you go, okay?
Yeah, take care. Have a great evening. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. What a nice man. What a nice man, okay? What a nice guy. Okay, gang. That's it for the week. We're going to come in next week, hopefully strong, swinging with some great content. I'm trying to set up a religious debate on religious persecution. Is religious persecution still happening in the West today against Christians? Are Christians being persecuted? Is Christian persecution a real thing? I think that would be an interesting topic. I want to get into it. I want to talk about it. So if you have a position either way, let me know, and we will have that discussion. Other than that, I think we got. If you guys want to support me, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Send me some super chats, some super thanks, and all these things. All of it helps. I love you all. Like I said, today was totally hinged, totally calm. Did you think I was lying on my little blurb or title? No, I was telling you the truth. No, but thanks for coming in, gang. Thanks for calling. All the callers were wonderful today, and I appreciate every single one of you. Real Jennifer McCabe says JStalk is showing DMs with Connor that says you lied about CPS. I didn't lie. I showed these are the DMs that Connor sent. Did Connor lie to North? Maybe. Did Connor lie to North? Maybe. I don't know. But these are the DMs that Connor Point sent. This is what he said he was doing. Did he lie about that? Maybe. But you know what? That's the thing about liars. Is he lying then or is he lying now? Good question. I don't know. Good question. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, I stand by every single thing I said. Every single thing I said, based on the information that I had, was correct. It was insane, for anyone to call CPS based on the quote unquote evidence that they had at the time. It's insane for anyone to using their lack of imagination on what something could possibly mean as evidence that some kids were in danger or being hurt is reckless, negligent, grossly incompetent, and yes, dare I say, evil and malicious. Extremely immoral. It was evil, malicious, and immoral after losing an argument to someone to weaponize federal agencies to go after someone's children. Crazy work. Don't do it. I love you all. Bye-bye.